Good afternoon, everyone, and I wanted to post this video since we're kind of out of class a little bit. Before I get started, let me do another one of these right in vertex form problems, just in case anyone was confused on how to actually do those. Let's see, let's do number, which one should I do? Let's do number 29. No, let's not do number 29. Let's do number 28. If I do number 28, again, that's 2x squared plus, well, y equals 2x squared plus 4x minus 5. And I need to place that in vertex form, right? Oh, but I didn't even know this was here. Alright, so since that's there, let's take number 28, put it down here. Pause, let's number that. Alright, so if I'm trying to complete the square with this, right? Or I'm sorry, I'm trying to use completing the square to put it in vertex form. Remember, vertex form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So that's the form we're trying to put it in. So if I'm trying to put it in that form, let's see if I can do that. Alright. First off, let me add 5 on both sides. And I'll end up with y plus 5 equals 2x squared plus 4x, right? Then, instead of dividing everything by 2, why not just factor out a 2? If I factor out a 2, that's x squared plus 2x. I'm going to leave some space here because I'm going to complete the square. And I'm going to leave some space here. If I do that, now it comes down to what am I adding to complete the square right here. And divide that by 2 and square it. This has to be a plus 1. And that means I have to add, since this is a 1 times 2, since it's a 1 times 2, I have to add 2 over here. So in order to complete that square. So now that means that this is going to be y plus 7 over here. And that's going to equal 2 times x plus 1 squared. Right? And then from there, the vertex form is y equals 2 times x plus 1 squared minus 7. Got it? And that means the vertex, all the vertex is, where am I? Negative 1, negative 7. So that's how we'll complete things in vertex form. You follow those steps, you should be fine. But the part that I really wanted to get to is the quadratic formula. Now, there are 3 ways, I should say that, 3 ways to solve a quadratic formula. I'm sorry, not a quadratic formula, but a quadratic equation. Three ways to solve a quadratic equation. Those 3 ways are, you can solve by factoring. You can solve by factoring. You can do completing the square. You can solve by completing the square. Or you can solve using square roots. Those are 3 ways that we know so far. Quadratic equation. Now, mind you, if I gave you this problem right here, just a little review. If I see a problem like this, you have a choice as to how you're going to solve this. How I would solve it is I would use square roots. Just using square roots, you end up with 7 times x minus 4 squared equals 28. And then that means that you end up with x minus 4 squared equals 4. Square root of both sides. x minus 4 equals plus or minus 2. So that means x equals 4 plus or minus 2. That means that your two options is 4 plus 2, which is 6, or 4 minus 2, which is 2. That's how I'd solve that one. This problem right here, I would not solve it by factoring because it cannot be factored. So I would solve it by completing the square. X squared minus 6x minus 3. Let's see, let's take that 3 over to the other side. So we'll get distracted. Let's take that 3 over to the other side. And I'm going to, let's see, divide by, I'm going to add 9 on both sides. If I add 9 on both sides, then that means I end up with x minus 3 squared equals 12. Take the square root of both sides. Now that means x minus 3. You guys have to understand the square root of 12 is the same thing as the square root of 4 times 3, which is the same thing as the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. And that means that we get 2 times the square root of 3, right? So x minus 3 is going to be plus or minus 2 times the square root of 3. So that means that x is going to equal 3 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 3. Cool. So far we know square roots, we know by factoring, all that stuff. If I gave you this problem right here, the first thing that you would want to do is solve it by factoring, right? So if I solve this by factoring, again, this is x plus 2 times x plus 3. All of that equals 0. That means that x plus 2 equals 0, or x plus 3 equals 0. And all that means is that either x equals negative 2 or x equals negative 3. That's solving by factoring. That's the easiest way. However, the quadratic formula can be done for any quadratic equation. And the quadratic formula, as you see here, is just x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So, the best way to memorize that is to just keep writing it. That means x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and all of that is over 2a. So since in this case right here a equals 1, b equals 5, and c equals 6, I can just take all of those and plug these in, right? So that means that negative 5, you have negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 6. And this is all over 2 times 1. So in further calculations, that's just going to equal negative 5 plus or minus 25 minus 24 all over 2, right? That means that negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 1 over 2. And since we should say that the square root of 1 equals 1. So if that's the case, I'm going to go to the right now. Equals negative 5 plus or minus 1 over 2. So what that ends up being is either you're going to have 5 plus 1 over 2 or 5 minus 1 over 2. So both of those values can be written more simply by saying 5 plus 1 is 6 over 2. So we're going to say this is 6. Well, not 6, I'm sorry. we're going to say that 5 plus 1 is 6 over 2. This is 3. Negative 3. Hold on. I'm going crazy here. All right, negative 5 plus 1. If we're talking about negative 5 plus 1 over 2, that's 4. That's negative 2. And the negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6 over 2. This should be negative 3. So you see, we actually get the same exact thing if we did the quadratic formula. That's kind of how we could deal with the quadratic formula and still get the same thing. So I want you to just work on these two problems right here. And in your notes, it will be worked out so you can actually go back and look at your answers. Other than that, that's all I got for you.